Hey everybody, it's me Jack, and I'm back with the review of the final film of the original Star Wars trilogy, Return of the Jedi. While fans still seem to like this movie, they generally regard it as the weakest of the original trilogy. And I'm just gonna say it, I absolutely love this movie. And while I wouldn't say it is as good as Empire Strikes Back, it nonetheless comes in at a close second. I do like it a little bit more than A New Hope. The plot of this film takes place shortly after The Empire Strikes Back. Han Solo has been frozen in carbonite and taken to the gangster Jabba the Hutt. Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and the others must go and save him. However, things are getting even worse for the rebels as the Empire is building a new Death Star even more powerful than the first one. The characters are still great. Mark Hamill gives his best performance by far in this movie as Luke Skywalker. We're dealing with a much more mature and strong Luke. He no longer whines anymore and is truly a powerful and wise Jedi, but still not flawless. His character does still have some dark side in him, and throughout the last act, he attempts to fight that dark side, and it works perfectly as the final part of his character arc. He went from the whiny little farm boy to the powerful and mature Jedi Knight. One of the best shots in the movie shows him standing in the darkness, with one side of his face dark and the other side light, showing his conflicting thoughts. And his character doesn't just accept the fact that his father is evil and he should just kill him. He instead does what a good Jedi would do, go in and attempt to turn his father back to the good side. You've really grown to care about his character at this point, and when he wins at the end, it feels wonderful. The other characters are still very enjoyable. Han does have some of his best moments in this film, like with his line, "Hey, it's me." That line is definitely one of my favorites of any of the films. C-3PO and R2-D2 are funny as usual. The character of Lando Calrissian gets some real moments to shine here as well. We even get some funny new alien characters like Admiral Akbar and Nien Nunb. Once again, the puppet work on these characters is just incredible. One criticism that this movie gets is that the first half goes on for a bit too long. Now, the scenes with Jabba the Hutt might go on for a bit too long for some people, but for me, I think it's great. It works perfectly as a first act to the film. We get to spend a lot of time with these interesting new characters, all these different alien species. Jabba the Hutt himself is a really amazing character. The puppet that they use for him is outstanding. Far better than the CG abomination that they use in the special editions and the prequels. Also, his voice is amazing. He has this great low, booming voice, and easily one of the most recognizable evil laughs of all time. We also have other cool new characters like Salacious Crumb, who also has an amazing laugh, Max Rebo, who looks like a giant blue Play-Doh elephant, and others. I love the way that they reintroduce all of the old characters. Just like the first film, we're introduced to R2 and 3PO first, as they walk through the desert of Tatooine. We once again have C-3PO acting like the idiot, and R2-D2 being dedicated to the mission. We then have what seems like an unknown bounty hunter taking Chewbacca captive, only for us to later realize that it's Princess Leia, in another great reveal. She too is captured. Then we see what looks like the Emperor entering. This unknown person then force chokes some of the guards, which is something that we've only seen being done by Darth Vader. Then we eventually come to the realization that this is Luke Skywalker, and we finally see him as the badass Jedi Knight that he wanted to be. Now his character is much more confident. We then get another great scene where he has to battle the Rancor. This once again is an incredible creature. The scene is extremely suspenseful, and we see just how smart Luke has become as he manages to defeat the Rancor. Just when you think the danger is all over, they're taken out to the Dune Sea to be fed to the Sarlacc, another monster. Luke Skywalker gets out his lightsaber, the music rises up, and he starts kicking ass. We also have slave Princess Leia. Now, another criticism of this film is that they turned Princess Leia into a sex object. And while, yeah, you could make the argument, I nonetheless love the fact that she's the one who kills Jabba the Hutt, the one who made her wear this outfit. It's an extremely exciting scene, and it just feels so awesome when they finally escape and blow Jabba's sail barge up. To me, this was a perfect first act to the film. Another criticism that this film gets is that it borrows some stuff from the first film, mainly the fact that the Empire just builds a new Death Star. Again, though, I would defend this as I think it works great as the final installment of the series. It's a good idea for the last film in the trilogy to have the rebels once again up against something really powerful. Don't get me wrong, the Empire was still very threatening in Empire Strikes Back, but it was the second film in the series, and so the absence of the Death Star worked there. Had they known that this was going to be a trilogy, I think it would have been best to just save the Death Star for the last film. But seeing how they had no idea that it would be a success, they just put it in the first one, which is understandable. It once again gives the rebels a very exciting and interesting mission to go on, and they change it up. This time, there's an energy field protecting this Death Star, as it's not fully complete yet. So Han Solo, Leia, and several of the other rebels have to go onto the forest moon of Endor to turn the energy shield off so that the rest of the rebels can blow it up. It makes for a much bigger and more complex Death Star attack. Then we get to the Battle of Endor, and here we have easily the biggest criticism of this movie, the Ewoks. A lot of people don't like the Ewoks, mainly because they're just too childish, and it's very hard to buy the fact that they would be able to defeat the Empire. But I still don't think they're horrible. They can be cute, and this does lead into a very good message. The message of the simple weapons beating the technologically advanced ones. And that was really the idea that Lucas was going for. In fact, originally it was an army of Wookiees that fought the Imperials, but Lucas changed it because he thought that they would be too technologically advanced. This is something that they would eventually do in Revenge of the Sith. So yeah, I don't mind the Ewoks, but one of the biggest reasons why I love this movie so much is the emotion. This is by far the most emotional out of all the films in the trilogy. Hell, out of all the films in the saga. It all really starts at the beginning of the film with the death of Yoda. This character that we've come to love and know so much from the last film is now dying. It's an incredible scene, one of the franchise's best. The way that Yoda talks about death in such a tragic, but at the same time happy and relaxing way. My favorite line is definitely when he says, "Strong am I with the Force, but not that strong." Showing that no matter how powerful you are, you can't stop death. It's just a part of life. Whenever I watch the scene, I always feel sad, but at the same time warm. And it's all just because this puppet is so convincing. And this scene, along with the following scene with Ben Kenobi, starts the absolute best part of this film. Luke's attempt to convert Darth Vader back to the good side. Luke eventually surrenders himself to Darth Vader, who then brings him to the Emperor. The Emperor was only briefly seen in the last film, and all the build-up from the earlier films pays off enormously. The Emperor is an incredible character. When I was a kid, Darth Vader certainly was threatening to me, but the Emperor was just the stuff of nightmares. While Vader seemed like a strong, powerful leader, the Emperor seemed like the Grim Reaper, or the Devil, in his dark cloak with his deformed and scary face, and one of the most chilling voices I've ever heard. Ian McDiarmid was just the perfect choice for this character. He's one of the absolute highlights of this film. The instant that you see him first step out of his shuttle and you see Darth Vader bowing to him, you are just like, oh my gosh, Darth Vader is bowing to somebody. That means this guy is a badass. Despite his character seeming a bit old, you're nonetheless threatened by him whenever he's on screen. His character is even able to mix in a few funny moments, but they aren't too funny. They don't make you just flat out laugh at his character like the prequels did. Playing the role of the Puppet Master, the man who converts Darth Vader to the dark side, and is now planning to convert Luke as well. And with the character of Darth Vader, we start to see more humanity in him. His character still acts villainous. After Luke Skywalker is taken away by the stormtroopers, he just stands by himself. And because he has the mask on, you still can't tell what he's thinking, but you can tell that something is going on inside of his head. And we see as the Emperor starts taunting Luke, taking advantage of Luke's anger, and tempting Luke into using his lightsaber to kill him. We also see the turmoil that Luke is going through at this moment. He eventually snaps, grabs his lightsaber and attempts to strike down the Emperor, only to have Vader block the blow. This leads into easily the best lightsaber duel in the series. Forget about choreography. This fight is extremely emotional. There's a lot of moments of dialogue in between. Luke still doesn't want to kill his father, or give in to the dark side, but Vader just keeps on pushing his buttons, until he eventually brings up the idea of turning Princess Leia, who we find out in this film is his sister, to the dark side. Luke then snaps and lashes out at Vader. An amazing piece of music plays over this scene as he just attacks Vader, eventually giving him payback by slicing his hand off. just like Vader did to him. He stands over Vader, about to kill him, until he looks at his robotic hand and realizes that he just cut Vader's hand off. He then realizes that he is becoming like his father. He throws his lightsaber away and tells the Emperor that he will never turn to the dark side. We see the Emperor at his greatest. He just lifts his fingers and shoots lightning at Luke, zapping him. Here we see why the Emperor is the true master of the dark side. Not only does his character not even need to come over to you in order to hurt you, but he isn't just gonna kill you quickly. No, he's gonna make sure that you die in agony. Luke is begging Vader to help him as the Emperor continues to shock him. Then he eventually says, "Now, young Skywalker, you will die." And it's at that moment that Vader realizes, this is my son. He's a Skywalker, just like me. And as the Emperor continues to zap him, Vader eventually turns to the Emperor, picks him up, and throws him down a shaft, killing him. Pretty much everybody has talked about just how powerful this scene is. This scene is the greatest moment of the entire saga, in my opinion. While The Empire Strikes Back is still technically a better film, no moment in that film comes close to the amount of emotional weight that this scene has. Again, without seeing any facial expressions, we see the turmoil that Vader feels as he looks back and forth to the Emperor and his son. Like any scene in these movies, it's helped enormously by the musical score as well. It's intense, horrifying, and then it eventually becomes heroic and triumphant as Vader turns on his master. The following scene when Vader dies is also an amazing moment. Vader tells Luke to take his mask off so he can look on him with his own eyes. And we finally see the man under the mask. And despite us being scared by Vader throughout the whole trilogy, we actually see that underneath the mask lies a wounded, vulnerable old man. He tells Luke to leave him. Luke, of course, says that he has to save him, only to have his dad say, "You already have. You've saved Anakin Skywalker from the dark side." He then dies, and we hear a fantastic version of the Imperial March being played by a harp. This whole sequence is outstanding. This is one of the reasons why this movie is so awesome. And whenever I think of just why Star Wars is such a great and important piece of art, these are the scenes that come to mind. It's scenes like this that make Star Wars not only great, but important. It shows that even the most evil people do still have some good inside of them. It's which side we choose to embrace that defines who we are. So overall, I think Return of the Jedi is a fantastic end to the series. I understand for some people it might be a bit too childish with the Ewok stuff, but for me, it nonetheless was a great finale. And for those that say the film didn't really take any risks, it took one of the biggest risks ever. Having the most famous villain character of all time turn good. This is something that could have easily been very poorly done, but they executed it perfectly. This is a great film, and I'd give it a 10 out of 10. So there's my review of Return of the Jedi, and next time is my review of The Phantom Menace. So grab your blaster and lightsaber, 'cause you're gonna need them. See you next time.